Welcome back to another edition of Green is Good, and this is the Hollywood edition of Green is Good with my co-host Debbie Levin, the president of the Environmental Media Association, and we're so honored to have with us today the beautiful Frances Fisher. Thank you for coming on Green is Good today, Frances.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Debbie, you and Frances are friends for a very, very long time, so I would want you to take the honor and really introduce Frances the way she's supposed to be.
Well, everybody knows Frances Fisher as being literally one of the most talented actresses ever.
Absolutely.
I mean, seriously, like ever. Movies, theater, TV. I know I have the privilege of knowing Frances as one of my besties. And we actually met in Sundance, and I know exactly when we met. We met in January of 2003 because I have a sweatshirt, and so I know the year. And we met when we did a conference, and Frances came, and it was like one of those moments where like, oh my God, I love you.
Yeah.
And you joined the board immediately, and we have been incredible girlfriends ever since. And beyond being one of the best actresses in the business, Frances is one of the most dedicated activists I know in the environmental world and in the theater world, and in just your passion is just amazing, and the most genuine and authentic human beings that I've ever met. So that's just my little intro for you.
You know,
live up to that, babe.
when did you join? I mean, I know when you now met Debbie, but when did you join Emma and became part of that
Right
whole?
away.
I think it was right away. Yeah.
Wow.
And Debbie completely revamped it because when did Norman start it?
89.
And it was kind of, then this little powerhouse shows up and completely reorganizes the whole thing and gets so many fantastic people to get on the board, and it's become this amazing, I mean, our Emma event is amazing. Every year it grows bigger and bigger and bigger, and more people come, and we have an amazing board. We have an amazing young Hollywood board,
Which your daughter sits on,
which
Francesca.
my daughter is
Yes.
on now. Yes, she was little before. Now she's old enough.
Yes.
And then the regular board, and then the executive board, and
And the corporate board, which
corporate
John
board.
sits on.
Yes, yeah.
So, you know, you're such a very prolific actress and so busy in what you do for your profession. How do you have time to be an environmental activist?
Well, it's just your lifestyle, right? I mean, in the beginning, it's, turn the lights off when you leave the room, and I have so many canvas bags. It's just, I give them away. I use them for everything. It's not just to go to the grocery store.
Right.
I have a little emergency bag in my back seat with all kinds of stuff, and I've got that, and just use them for everything.
How have you evolved, though, in terms of your personal lifestyle? From 2003 here to 2015, Frances, what are you doing in your personal journey, to be green? So it's just not talking the talk, but you're walking the walk, and we know that, but I want our listeners to hear.
Well, I've had a Prius since they were invented. I love it, and I've seen other people with other types of cars that are hybrids, but I just love my Prius. I just really love it. What do? I mean, recycling, and I have glass containers that I put things in. I don't have those plastic containers.
Right.
It's little things
Got it.
What else?
Well, you're really, really supportive of our PSA programs too. So that's a huge thing that, in terms of using your talent to really spread the message and voice our issues. And you've worked a lot with John Quigley, who also came, has come here today.
There are so many issues going on the planet. It's overwhelming to think, what do I want to get involved in? So what I do is, depending on the time I have between jobs, that's when my activism really kicks in. I mean, my lifestyle is pretty consistent, but if we don't have a planet to live on and air to breathe, all these other things
are really moot.
They're moot. We need to take care of Mother Earth and Father Sky.
And obviously, you've walked a heck of a walk, because Francesca now has also become an environmental activist and joined the Emma Young Hollywood Board. So, what in terms of the big issues that we face today? We've talked today about water scarcity. We've talked today about climate change. what's really on your mind? Like, what do you say? Before you leave this planet, before we all leave this planet, what do you hope gets solved, and what are you like focusing on?
Well, water.
Yeah.
If we don't have water, if we don't have clean water, we won't survive.
Yeah.
I mean, the fracking thing, John, quickly, I mean, it's terrifying to see what's happening to our planet. And so many people who don't really realize it. I mean, I post things on my Facebook, and I get messages from people around the country. They go, I didn't really realize that Keystone XL was so bad, because I've been told it's going to give people jobs. Right. It's like, well, balance that. And it's like Ed Begley, bless his heart. It's like, are you going to get those organic things that are flown in from Chile, those blueberries? Because think of the pollution for the traveling of the airplanes. Right. You have to offset everything, So you have to really. It takes work. Just even food labeling. I've taught my daughter to read labels. And because you can't just believe the advertising of something, you have to look at the labels behind on the back of the container and see what the ingredients really are.
How have you, Frances? Since meeting Debbie in 2003 and becoming part of Emma, and how have you seen the evolution of Hollywood in terms of all the sets that you get to work on and all the producers you get to work with? Is Hollywood, from the inside, getting more green in terms of doing more things on their sets and in production? Sometimes I'm very frustrated with a certain company because we had a craft service person who was bringing in all organic food. She had a guy, this was not in this state, it was in another state. She had a guy who was basically homeless, and she hired him to sort through all the garbage because everybody was just throwing all the trash in the same bin, which is what we've all done all our lives. Right. And until, the last decade or so, when we've really understood, and they're starting to make garbage cans that have the recycled bins and that kind of consciousness. Right. So this was fabulous. She gave a homeless man a job. He was the one who separated out the paper and the plastic and the garbage and everything, and took all the stuff that didn't have meat and eggs in it and dairy and separated it out to make compost. I mean, this guy was amazing. The next year, the studio said it cost too much money. Oh. And I said, if you feed people good food, their energy level will be better. Right. They will produce more. They will have energy to work instead of eating the same tired food in the the line. It's that. So I mean, I'm sounding very frustrated because I am. And on the other hand, I worked on a show here in town where the craft services had a brown rice and vegetables just waiting there because the actors are conscious. I think actors are probably a little more conscious of what they eat because they have to look a certain way on camera. So they kind of lead it all the time. And the crew needs healthy, hearty food. But I have to tell you about Serenbe, right?
Yes, talk about that.
Oh my gosh, okay. There is a place called Serenbe.
Where is this?
In Georgia. I went there to do a TV series, Resurrection. Okay. A couple of years in a row now. And instead of living in a hermetically sealed apartment in Atlanta or in a house in the middle of this bustling city, a realtor told me, because I said, I want to live in the country. I want a front porch. It's the South. I want to live like that. So she said, you've got to check out Serenbe, Serenbe, Serenbe.com. I opened that page and I looked, and it says, the best part about living here is the life here. It's 1,000 acres with an organic farm,
oh my gosh,
organic restaurants, people who live in houses, in community, face to face with all the front porches and kids running up and down the sidewalks because nobody's driving fast in their cars. They drive around in golf carts mostly.
Holy Toledo.
So what is my point? My point is, solar power, geothermal.
So
they're
who are the
building
people behind this?
Marie and Steve Nygren were both restaurateurs in Atlanta, and they decided they wanted to raise their daughters on the weekends in this farm that they bought many years ago. And as the land came for sale around their property, Steve would buy it because he didn't want it to be developed, because a lot of developers are unconscious. They just put up this,
So it kept growing.
So it kept growing, and then finally, what am I going to do with this? And what he's done is dedicated 30% of the property to buildings, and the rest is green. So there's everywhere you look, there's trees and flowers, and nobody has lawns. Everybody has herbs growing. I could run across the street and get an herb. I can go over there and get the rosemary.
These are the kind of communities that
This is
we should be
amazing.
having all over
Yeah.
America.
Yes, but
Yeah.
we don't, because it's just it seems people don't they don't want to build it because there's better ways to make money.
When you were doing your show, did you go there and eat, or how did you get to know them, or did you
She
stay
lived there.
Well, I lived there.
That's
I
where you
rented it.
lived.
I
That's where
lived
she
there.
lived.
Oh my gosh, that's
She lived
awesome.
there,
I-
and I was so mad because that was the year that she lived there. I was doing a wedding and I was building a house, and I couldn't go
So
visit
you
her. I
didn't
didn't
go
have
visit.
time to
Oh,
visit.
I know.
It was so upsetting.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll be picked up
I
next
know,
year
and then
you'll
I'll come.
back.
That would be wow.
And what they also are doing, they have the agricultural pod. It's like a neighborhood where the farm is.
Yeah.
There's another one that's the arts district, because they have a theater there. It's all outdoor theater, environmental theater. They have artist in residence program, painters, photographers, and they're building the new neighborhood called Moto, which is going to have all kinds of holistic alternative medicines, probably cryo, a real doctor, old folks home, a teen center to help teens. They have a school on the property.
This is the way.
That sounds like the
this is the
future.
way people should be living, and it's just so difficult because we haven't been able to figure out how to do that for ourselves.
Well, I think also when people make money, they think that they have to buy a McMansion and put a big wall around to
Be
protect all
isolated.
their
Yeah. Right.
material possessions, and they are lonely and isolated. And people in Bel Air don't know their neighbors.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Good
this
point.
here, nobody locks their doors.
Oh
Wow.
my God, it's like a throwback to old.
It's
Wow.
because Steve and Marie thought, everybody wants community. It's like we can be on our social media, and that's all very good and effective.
Right.
But there's nothing like walking into a theater and sharing a real experience, to see actors on a stage, especially if it's good, to share that with an audience and come out, walk in as strangers and come out because you've laughed and cried together, and look at that person in the eye and go, wow, that was good, right?
Francis, now,
Human connection.
was the whole production company saying that, or just you?
Just me. Everybody.
So how did you learn about it, and how did you even find out about this place?
A realtor. I had talked to 10 realtors looking for places to live. I kept saying, I want a house with a porch. And she said, well, they were trying to sell me on going to live at the 12, which is like this high-rise, hermetically sealed windows where it's all air-conditioned. Awful.
Right.
And they said, well, when you come in at midnight from working, you can just order from any restaurant around. They'll send it right up. I went, I don't care about restaurant food.
Right.
I'm a vegan. I want to eat real food. And this one realtor heard me, and she said, I don't handle any property there. I'll tell you about Serenbe. That's where you want to be.
How many homes are there for purchase or for rent?
They're building all the time, and they're just
kidding.
like, oh my gosh. Probably
sounds
I know,
about
right?
140
I know.
houses now. They've probably got
I know.
about 250.
What a-
And they're not going to overbuild.
Right.
But all the houses are together, so everybody has community, but you can go out the back porch and you've got the woods.
You mentioned a little while ago that you're a vegan. Is being a vegan in still a McDonald's and Taco Bell world, is it hard, or is it getting easier, or do you find it no problem at all?
It's definitely easier, right?
Yeah,
especially in Los Angeles, now with the crossroads and, places that are popping up all the time. Gracias Madre is one of our favorite restaurants.
Right. Is it easier? How is it for you health-wise? That's
when I eat vegan, I can eat as much as I want. And when I did Kathy Freston's 21-day vegan cleanse. And what it was giving up 5 things. You give up coffee, alcohol, sugar, gluten, and animal products of any kind. And 21 days later, the weight just slipped off me, and obviously I'm not doing that stringent a diet right now.
Right.
But my face just started glowing, and I was more rested. Because eating healthy, organic, non-GMO food gives me the energy I need, and I don't have to eat a lot. I was eating raw for a while. You eat raw food only, the enzymes aren't cooked out because they're fresh and they're clean, and you get the energy right then. You don't have to eat as much to fill your stomach up or to get the energy you need.
Do you enjoy also this whole revolution with juices? Are you enjoying fresh juices as well?
Yeah, I do juices.
Do you really?
And water, lots of water.
And in terms of you did also mention the blueberries, the organic blueberries, and the challenge between local and organic.
Yeah, good point.
That's a huge point for people, I think, because I think people do need to understand that you have to look beyond the obvious. Like when you can't say I have to only buy organic when there's a local farm that has not been certified yet, but is not using pesticides, and they're growing their fruits and vegetables and herbs, and you can go to a farmer's market and get it, and it's right there, and there's no transportation involved.
Yes.
That's the environmental choice.
I think the thing, because I've been doing it so long, it's just part of me now, and people starting it seems a little overwhelming, but you just start simply. Like, let me read. If there's a 9 on the little sticker on the fruit or vegetable, that means it's okay. If it starts with a 9, that means it's organic. If it starts with a 4, it's conventionally grown.
Explain why. I mean, I've never heard of that before. So
well, that's just the way they label it. It's like 4 or 5 numbers, I think.
Yeah.
9, 2, 7, 5. But the 9 is the important one.
So 9 is good.
Starts with a 9. 9 is good. 4 is bad.
And also know where it's coming from.
And
if it's going thousands and thousands of miles, what is that doing for fuel? So you have to think about that.
Right.
Because of what you're doing in your own walk, are a lot of your friends following and becoming vegan as well, and also living more sustainable lifestyles, let's just say?
I don't know if anybody's turned vegan.
I have not.
But if you are not going to be vegan, just make sure that the animal flesh that you do eat, it has not been fed with GMO corn, things like that.
So beyond meat, if you were to share with our listeners and viewers what to cut out of their diet that can make a good dent and make them feel better, if they're going to keep meat in their diet but buy organic meat.
Yeah, it's a little more expensive, but the benefit of that, you feel better. Now, I fell off the wagon. Okay. I did in the South. It was Georgia.
It was the South. What are you going to do?
And you look at that and you go, and Marie goes, "Come on, just taste this. Just taste." And it's like it was
hard to say no.
But it was not factory farm.
Right.
And the taste and the energy I got from that food, as opposed to what I used to do before I was conscious, you don't get energized by food. Especially now, back in the day when our parents were growing up, when there was no such thing as GMOs.
Right, it was different.
And the earth was actually vibrant, but now everything's so over-processed, there's no energy in the soil anymore.
So for our listeners or viewers, what would you tell them what should they cut out? Milk, dairy, should it be dairy, sugar, gluten? You give us your take on the stuff.
Sugar is really, really dangerous.
Yeah.
And pointless.
And pointless. And I mean, if you have to have sugar, you can do fruit sugars and, any of agave, yes, or maple syrup. At least it's not white.
Right.
Anything white. I'd say get rid of anything white. Human beings aren't supposed to be drinking milk. Mother's milk, yes, when you're feeding your child, but we're not supposed to be drinking the milk of other animals.
Right.
So white bread, anything processed, obviously not good.
Did you feel better after you cut gluten out?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I rarely eat gluten. I had, if there's a little piece of French bread around, of course, I'm going to indulge. But for the most part, like what's in my home, it's all clean stuff. So I know that I've got something that I can eat that is healthy and nourishing.
Francesca's the same way?
Yeah, she's doing really, really well. And then every once in a while, I'll see on her Instagram, it's like, Big Mac, and it's like, no. She's a kid.
Right.
But it's not all the time. She's learning. And I've taught her how to cook simple meals. I make this mac and cheese that you would swear that it was made with real cheese, but it's made with diet cheese. And the macaroni is gluten-free. And you just put it in the thing with a little almond milk and,
It's so easy to do that because even though, I'm not a vegan, I don't eat a lot of meat, and when I eat, it's always organic. And I'm like scared to eat anything else anyway. But I have so much. I have quinoa pasta and whole wheat. There's so many choices right now, and it's actually not hard anymore. Right. It's all available, and it's kind of available everywhere.
Yeah.
You just have to look, and you have to try it, and you have to realize that these things are such great options.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
Yeah, and it used to be that only Whole Foods had it.
Right, but it's not like that at all anymore.
Questionable sometimes.
Exactly.
They have a lot of conventionally grown things.
Right.
Too. You have to look at the labels in Whole Foods. But places like Albertsons and the grocery stores, Piggly Wiggly, they'll have like a little organic section.
Now it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
We had Ethan Brown on a little while ago from
He's
Beyond
in Target.
He's 7,000 stores are selling his Beyond Meat products.
Which is Target.
Oh my God!
Target and look, Target and all the huge Costco and everywhere. Yeah, they all have this now. It's really amazing.
The thing that I've learned, this is important because if you don't want to do gluten, which I don't have celiac, but I feel better when I don't eat gluten. I just can feel it. To eat a lot of these vegetarian or vegan things that are made, there's a lot of gluten in them. So you have to read the labels. You always have to read the labels.
That's a great point.
Yeah. But fresh is better anyway.
Yes.
The fresh stuff.
So beyond sustainability, Frances, before we sign off today, share what you're up to professionally. What's going on in your life, and what's your next project, and what are you excited about?
What is my next project? Well, right now, I'm fighting for actors to keep our equity union from closing down the 99-seat theaters in Los Angeles.
Awesome.
I'm fighting very publicly. I'm fighting very loudly, which is amazing.
I love it.
IFAR 99 is 99-seat theater, which is an incubator for new works and a place for actors to ply their craft and keep themselves fresh. The 99-seat plan was never made to give actors money. It's a place to work when you're not doing other things.
Is there a website that people could go to if they want to donate or participate?
Yeah, ilove99.org.
ilove99.org.
Yeah,
and
because it's not just us. Why we do it is we want to give it to an audience, and we need an audience. And that's what I was saying before about community. The theater is one place where people can come together and have a community.
Well, Frances Fisher, thank you for joining us today at Green is Good. ilove99.org. Mm-hmm. And for Debbie Levin and John Shagarian, we're Green is Good. And Frances Fisher, you are truly living proof that green is good. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you.